We've got a great topic today, security and billing for Windows Azure Pack, and it's all about how to protect your workloads and manage the economics of your Azure Pack cloud. So we've got a mix of service providers and enterprise IT folks joining us today, and whether you're a service provider delivering cloud services on a pay-per-use basis or you're an enterprise building a self-service private cloud, you need to make sure that your Azure Pack environment is protected and that you're able to track and monetize the services that are being consumed. So that's what our speakers are going to talk about today. We are really excited to co-host today's webcast with fellow Microsoft partner Five9 Software. Like Cloud Cruiser, they've been recognized by Microsoft as a partner solution that every Azure Pack environment should have. Joining us from Five9 is Simon Perryman, VP of Business Development and Marketing. Simon is a recognized expert in virtualization and cloud technology, holding several patents and dozens of industry certifications. Before Five9, Simon spent about 8 years at Microsoft. He was a senior technical evangelist for Hyper-V, Windows Server, System Center, and Windows Azure Pack. Simon brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our webcast today. We're really happy to have him join us. Our second speaker today is Paul Zinn. He's a senior product manager for Cloud Cruiser. Paul has over 20 years experience in enterprise software development. He's been with Cloud Cruiser for several years. He has been on both the front line as a solutions engineer, working directly with customers, installing and configuring Cloud Cruiser, and most recently in product management, where he sets the features and the roadmap for our product. Paul was very instrumental in our integrations to Microsoft's cloud portfolio, especially Azure Pack and Azure Public Cloud. So I think we've got a great team here presenting to you today, and with that, I'm going to hand things off to Simon to kick things off.
Thank you for the introduction, and welcome to this webinar. Over the course of the next hour, we're going to cover several key topics related to Azure Pack. We're going to first introduce the key Azure Pack concepts and help define how it's slightly different from other cloud services that you may be more familiar with, such as public and private clouds. Next, we're going to take a look at security for Azure Pack, ensuring that both your infrastructure and your tenants' environment and experience are secured and protected. We're then going to be discussing chargeback and billing, making sure that you can monetize from the different services that you're offering your tenants so that they get billed appropriately and you're, of course, getting revenue from those new services that you're offering. We're then going to discuss some integration between the products and finally opening it up for questions. First of all, let's take a look at our first poll question. And we want to just get a feeling from the audience about their current usage. So right now, what best describes your relationship with Five9 and Cloud Cruiser? Well, looking at the data we have coming back, it looks like we have a pretty good split here with about a third of our customers using Cloud Cruiser, about a third using Five9, and then the rest of you not actually using either of our technologies. So it's great that we'll be able to give you an opportunity to learn about the two best add-ons for Azure Pack. Let's first discuss now what exactly Azure Pack is and how it really fits into Microsoft's vision of the cloud platform. Now, the cloud platform is Microsoft's way of really enabling every organization to offer services at any scale. Now, many of you are probably already familiar with the public cloud, which is Microsoft's offering, allowing you to run your services on their hardware. Most customers, however, have a traditional private cloud, which is your own on-premise infrastructure, using things such as Windows Server and System Center to maintain and manage the infrastructure inside your own data center. But we have a lot of customers that are looking for a combination, a best of both worlds. They want to take advantage of the scalability of the cloud, yet still want that control and customization. And for that, Microsoft introduced a technology known as Azure Pack, which allows large organizations or hosting and service providers to run Azure on their own hardware. So this means you can work with one of your favorite hosters inside your own country and still be able to consume all of these Azure-like resources, but you get the advantage of additional customization and control over these different resources. So for example, you might have a requirement that all of your data needs to stay located within the boundaries of your particular country. Well, if you're using Azure's public cloud, you don't have the ability to control that. But taking advantage of Microsoft's network of over 600 service providers, you could find a partner located within your country with a good network connection, using your local currency, offering the services that you need to make sure that you maintain the compliance and regulatory requirements of your data. But the other big advantage of the cloud platform is the consistency of an experience. What this means is you could go and build an application or a virtual machine and have it run the exact same way regardless of the underlying hardware that it's on, regardless of whose cloud it is running in. So from a developer's perspective, they can create a .NET application and it's going to behave the same way whether it's running in your own data center, up on the public cloud, or in one of the service providers' data centers. When we're looking at our SQL database administrators, they can create their own database and have it work identically regardless of which of these clouds it's running on. Identity also has that same consistent experience where people can use Active Directory to have a single sign-on and have services that span across these different clouds, taking advantage of whatever when they need it. But for most of you on the call are IT professionals. You want to be able to take advantage of the virtualization and management which shared across these clouds. You could build a VM and have it function the exact same way up on Azure as in your own data center. And what this does is it gives you the control and the flexibility to take advantage of whatever cloud you need when you need it. Now, one of the most common scenarios we see for these joint cloud or hybrid cloud situations is when customers need to ensure that the data stays local in their own data center, yet they want to take advantage of the cloud for its endless scalability so that they can go and put their front-end website on a public cloud. They can adjust for seasonal fluctuations or shopping cycles, yet all of that customer's data is still collected and stored locally inside their own database. And this is the vision of this Microsoft Cloud Platform. It's allowing you to use these cloud services when you want them, how you want them. And that's really what's leading to this great push towards Azure Pack, being able to take advantage of these great services but run them inside your own data center. So let's do another quick comparison of Azure and Azure Pack and really understand how you can take advantage of Azure Pack. Now, when you kind of think about how somebody consumes or develops a cloud service, there's really two consumers of the IT resources. You have the customer that's going to make a request, like I need a new virtual machine or a new database, and then you have the IT administrators, and they're the ones that are running the back end. They're managing the hardware, they're creating the plans, and the policies. They're doing things such as configuring what the gold package might look like, which could include the fastest hardware, the fastest network connections, high availability and redundancy. And they can configure things like the bronze package, which runs on slower hardware, which has less availability. So essentially what happens with Azure is we, as the public, only get access to the customer portal. We only see one side of the equation. And all of that data is stored, managed, and operated by Microsoft's IT department running those data centers. So the way Azure Pack differentiates from that is it's moving those same services and applications, but instead of having Microsoft running it and managing it on the hardware, you get to maintain it on your own hardware. And so what this means is we still have that same tenant portal, the same customer experience, where people can log on and provision a virtual machine, but we now also give you access to the administrative side of it as well, this side that previously only Microsoft was managing. Now, since this is your hardware, you have this additional customization and control where you get to define the plans, you get to define availability, what services are offered, and additionally, you get to define the pricing and the billing for all of those different services too. So we're essentially giving you both sides of the equation, letting you run Azure, but letting you do it on your own hardware. Now, Azure Pack comes with several native services. They hook into our existing inbox Windows Server components and databases. So for example, you can deploy a virtual machine by hooking into System Center, Virtual Machine Manager, and Hyper-V. You can deploy a website. You can deploy a database. But one of the biggest advantages of Azure Pack is that you can go and expand your offerings by adding partner solutions. Azure Pack has a rich and growing partner ecosystem. Within it, these solutions give you additional capabilities, additional service offerings, ways that you can differentiate how you run IT to give your customers more of what they need. And the two most popular service offerings through Azure Pack are what we're going to be covering today, with Five9 Cloud Security offering security as a service, and Cloud Cruiser offering billing and chargeback. If you're running in a hosted environment, you need security, not just to protect your own infrastructure, but also to protect your tenants as well. And if you're moving to this cloud-based model that's really focused on consumption-based billing, you want to make sure that you're accurately reporting how people are using the data, and more importantly, being able to charge those customers back, show them how they've been consuming the resources, and then billing them appropriately for it. And this gives us our biggest advantage here of giving this end-to-end solution, taking advantage of the cloud when you need it, but still ensuring that it's secure, it's protected, and that you're able to monetize from it. As we move on to the next section, we're going to ask our second poll question here. And with this, we want to ask, what security solution are you currently using to protect your virtualized environment? Now, the most common one that we see is using traditional, what we call endpoint protection. And that's where you actually have to log into every virtual machine and install an agent. And that's where you're going to find most traditional antivirus companies require you to do. Another option is using an agentless solution, where you simply avoid that burden and you only install agents on your virtualization hosts and manages security, making it much more simpler and centralized. We also have a lot of people that are using network-based security, where they have a physical appliance that sits on the network and inspects the traffic flowing between different types of hosts or virtual machines. But unfortunately, that also has some limitations, since there's a lot of blind spots, different parts of the virtualized networks that those traditional appliances can't see. Now, looking at the survey data, it looks like a lot of you are using the traditional endpoint protection, and a reasonable number of you are using network-based protection. So this is great, because you're really going to have an opportunity to learn how using agentless protection is going to give you even more advantages, which is going to be particularly important if you become a larger enterprise or a service provider. Now, as we introduce Five9 Cloud Security, I just want to spend a moment talking a little bit about our organization. Five9 was founded in 2009, and the whole time we have only been building products for Hyper-V. We continue to work closely with the Hyper-V engineering team. I myself spent 4 years on that. So we really are building products designed for Hyper-V, addressing the specific security gaps and vulnerability that Hyper-V has. We're not trying to build an all-purpose security solution and then go and apply it to the Hyper-V platform. Now, our company is based in Chicago, and we have staff in about 14 different cities and countries worldwide, rapidly expanding throughout Latin America, Europe, and Asia. In fact, we now have over 68,000 Hyper-V users globally, as we are the leading solution for management and security purely designed for Hyper-V. Now, we are going to be talking about cloud security as our main product, but we also offer Five9 Manager, which is a centralized virtualization management solution designed for SMBs, almost like a lightweight version of System Center. And for those VMware customers that are looking to migrate over to the Hyper-V platform, we also include a free migration tool as well. With 9 MVPs on our staff, we are rapidly expanding, rapidly growing, and we look forward to hearing from you about how we can help you out and deliver you the best security for your Hyper-V environment. Now, what we've done with our cloud security product is we've basically taken a look at virtualization, specifically Hyper-V, and its different disks, networks, and virtual machines. We figured out all of these different security vulnerabilities, and we are protecting you against all of them. The reality is, nowadays, regulations have a lot of specific requirements for these virtualized and cloud environments because they know they're mainstream. So you want to make sure that when you're thinking of security, you're designing a solution that specifically protects that virtualized stack. Because more importantly, the bad guys, they know how to exploit it. Hackers today are no longer high school students. They're organized crime units. They're rogue nation states. They're making millions of dollars of stealing your information. And you want to make sure that you don't get hacked, because that's really going to hurt your reputation. It's going to hurt your credibility. And ultimately, if you're a service provider, that's going to cause a lot of distrust with other customers. So ensuring that you really protect this virtualized environment is going to be essential for you. And with Five9 Cloud Security, we offer a suite of security tools all designed to protect Hyper-V, with firewalls, antivirus, anti-malware, network detection, intrusion detection, to really ensure that every gap is closed. But I do want to emphasize we are a solution designed for the virtualization stack. So you want to ensure that you're using traditional security best practices and policies as well, such as Active Directory for identity, VPN for remote access, and BitLocker for physical security and protection. Now, the best practice that we have is you really want to try to immediately protect every virtual machine. As a service provider, you're going to have people constantly deploying new VMs. And so you want to make sure that those VMs are automatically protected. You don't want to go through the extra steps of logging into the VM and installing agents. That's going to slow things down. It adds complexity. What you really want to do is as soon as a new VM gets deployed, make sure it's protected. As soon as a new disk is deployed, make sure it's protected. And as soon as a new network comes online, protect that as well. So how can we offer this? How can we guarantee this automatic and immediate protection? Well, that's not ever going to be possible if you are using traditional endpoint security and you need to go and install an agent in every VM. The way we're able to accomplish this is taking advantage of the fact that all networking traffic gets routed through our host. So if you think about how any type of security threat or vulnerability is actually going to go and get to your virtual machine, it's going to go through the network. It's going to first go to the Hyper-V host. That's going to get routed through the virtual switch, and then that goes to our virtual machines. So what we're essentially doing here is we're going to go and install our security component on the virtual switch itself. This means that all network traffic to any virtual machine is going to get routed through here. So we could choose to accept that packet, or we can choose to block it based on different rules and regulations we have. So essentially, all we have to protect and install agents on is the Hyper-V host. You don't actually have to go to the virtual machines themselves. Now, this gives you the advantage of basically hiding all of the security from your end users. You have to remember that as a service provider, the public is basically renting your hardware, and they may want to do bad things on it. They may want to go and create a denial of service attack and take down someone else's website. And even if you install security within that VM, they can go and disable it. So the best practice is to hide that security entirely. Don't have the users worry about managing it, worry about updating it, or worry about having them disable it because they want to do something bad. We can hide that security entirely to guarantee protection. This is going to save a lot of time because you can centrally manage everything. Now, we take advantage. We don't write our own antivirus signatures. We use Kaspersky Lab and ThreatTrack. We don't write our own intrusion detection signatures. We use Cisco Snort. What we're basically doing is taking the best of the best from the industry and putting it together in a security suite for you for Hyper-V. Now, the next best practice you want to follow is making sure that you can guarantee isolation for your VMs as well. You want to make sure that a single user won't impact another user and cause a denial of service attack, whether that's denial of memory, denial of CPU, denial of disk, or denial of network. So everything should be isolated. And there's controls within the product that allow you to guarantee minimums and maximum amount of bandwidth. So everybody gets access to the resources they need. Now, many of you mentioned that you use traditional network security as the way that you protect your virtualized environment. But the challenge with that is it has several vulnerabilities. The most important one is that it doesn't protect virtual networks. It's only protecting a lot of the physical networks. Now, what this means is, if a single VM on a host gets infected, it can infect other VMs on that same host before your network security appliance even knows there's a problem. So if you kind of think about the different types of network traffic that you can have external traffic, which goes from one host to another host, and that is going to get picked up by your network appliance. But if you have internal traffic that only goes from the host to the VM, or more commonly, private traffic that goes from one VM to another VM on a virtual network, your security appliance probably isn't going to see that unless you've gone and configured some advanced routing. And what this basically means is you have a blind spot in your security solution. If one of your tenants gets infected, he could go and infect every other tenant on that host through private networks before you even realize there's a problem. And you could lose an entire host before you've detected there's a threat running on it. So when you are thinking about designing a security solution as a service provider, you need to ensure that you're protecting and inspecting those private networks as well. And since Five9 Cloud Security actually sits on the Hyper-V host, it intercepts all types of network traffic as a single point of convergence for all of the networking information. Now, as a service provider as well, your tenants probably are using different types of virtual machines. Now, if they're using Windows only, you could at least create firewall rules that are compatible with Windows. But if you're running on Hyper-V, chances are there's other types of guest operating systems. You could have a lot of Linux distributions as well, in which case you would need a different firewall solution just for your Linux virtual machines. So what Five9 has done is we provided a universal firewall for any virtual machine which Five9 supports, whether that's running Windows Server, Windows Client, or Unix and Linux. And so we even support the latest versions, Windows Server 2016 and Windows 10. And the way we're able to do this is, since we actually don't have to install anything in the guest operating system, we don't really care what it's running. We do all of our protection at the host level. So we are intercepting that network traffic, that packet, and saying whether it can go through our firewall or not before it even gets to the VM. So we are completely agnostic of that guest operating system, giving you a single centralized management solution. We also want to offer live detection as well. Now, what we're able to do is we can actually inspect traffic if it's unencrypted. So if we say that a particular network packet is allowed through our firewall, what we will then actually do is start to read the data that's coming through that network packet, the payload. And if we identify a virus, we will actually alert the administrator and say, hey, one of your tenants has just picked up a virus. You want to go and investigate, or you want to go shut them down. And so we have automation tied in where the hoster, the service provider can get an email. They can integrate with a PowerShell script. We write events to event channels that can be picked up and trigger other tasks. So we really want to make sure that we're offering immediate detection of these viruses when they arrive. Now, we essentially have two unique pieces of our solution. The first thing that we do, and we're the only ones for Hyper-V, is agentless protection. We have the patent on that. No one is, and no one will be doing agentless protection for Hyper-V. The second unique thing we do is we have the fastest disk scanning in the industry. Now, antivirus scanning is a big problem for people managing security. What happens during an antivirus scan is you're basically going through the file system of every disk, of every virtual machine, every file, and doing a mathematical calculation against it to see whether it matches a virus signature or definition. And this is very resource intensive. In some cases, it takes about 30% of the CPU. Now think about what that means. When you're doing this scan and it's taking up to 30% of your CPU, that means that either all of your VMs are going to slow down, or it means you have to put fewer VMs per host. So you need more hosts to support all of your tenants in your environment. So that's no good. So what we've done is we've designed an algorithm that optimizes how we do the disk scans. And in our testing, we're in some cases 70 times faster than our competitors. And I want to emphasize not 70% faster, but 70 times faster. And the way we do this is we don't have to scan the whole disk every time. We keep track of the changes that you've made since the last scan and only scan those changes. So we're essentially keeping track of the deltas or the differences on the file system and scanning those for an extremely fast scan, meaning that you don't have a performance hit, meaning that you need fewer hosts in your environment. So in the long run, even using the security solution can actually save you money on infrastructure acquisition costs. Now, automation is always going to be a key thing. So we have automation built throughout the product with task scheduling, PowerShell support, and even being able to stagger tasks so that you can execute things as fast as possible and ensure a consistent service experience. As you scale up, automation becomes even more important so that you can continue to support more and more clients, more disks, more virtual machines without having to add additional IT resources to do that. Now, security is going to become such a critical part of your infrastructure. You want to make sure that the system itself is highly available. And so what we do here is we have built high availability throughout our solution. Our main security service runs on a virtual machine or a host, and this virtual machine can be clustered. We store all of our reads and writes onto a database. We have multiple ways that you can manage the solution through either our console, PowerShell, Azure Pack, or System Center. We protect Hyper-V hosts and clusters. And when you want to start to scale up, you could provide a redundant management group for your management services so that the security is always online. You could take advantage of SQL high availability features like SQL clustering and always on. And you can even have security running across multiple locations or data centers that can be separated and will resynchronize their rules when they come back online. But it's also important when you're thinking about this large enterprise infrastructure to be able to identify traffic patterns that are occurring to try to find anomalies. And this is what intrusion detection does. Intrusion detection basically logs data across time, looking at all of your different servers, virtual machines, and what it's going to gradually do is build up a baseline of your normal traffic patterns. Now, if, for example, you're getting a denial of service attack where the public is attacking you, or even if you're attacking someone else, what we'll actually do is identify this anomaly and flag it, saying it looks like there's something unusual that's happening here. And this is also useful to prevent internal attacks too, where one of your tenants might be trying to take down your own internal infrastructure. So we're able to use these algorithms developed by Cisco Snort to identify these anomalies based on your own environment. Now, we have a plugin for System Center as well. We find that most of our enterprise customers and almost all of our WAP customers are using System Center VMM. So you can now fully integrate managing the security of your virtualized environment within the same VMM console. So you don't have to go to multiple locations to configure the environment. And we now, of course, have our Azure Pack extension as well. This allows you to protect your virtual machines in the environment and offer security as a service. Now, this also is an offering that you can use to differentiate yourself and monetize from. What customer out there isn't going to pay a couple extra dollars to have better security for their VMs? You know, you might offer, say, $20 a month for a standard VM or $25 a month for a secure VM. And so this gives you the advantage that not only are you going to get better security for your infrastructure, you're going to get better security for your tenants, and it's even a service that you can monetize and profit from. We've actually started a deployment with one of the world's largest service providers worldwide, and they estimate they're going to actually make over $100,000 in revenue just by being able to offer our security as a service to their customers. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the demo here, and we'll kind of show you this in action. What you see on this initial interface here is the Five9 Cloud Security Management Console. This is what's going to be running in the back end. It's kind of your main brains, the engines behind everything. Here you can see our System Center VMM plugin. Everything is fully integrated right within the System Center console. But we're going to go ahead and move over to Azure Pack. And right now we are taking a look at the administrator's portal. Now again, remember in Azure Pack, it's different from the public cloud because in Azure Pack, we get exposure to configure both the back-end experience as well as what our tenants see. And in this case, I'm taking a look at my back-end infrastructure. And what I'm going to do here is take a look at a plan, and I'm going to go and add security as an offering to my plan. Now, essentially, plans are different groupings of services that you can offer your tenants, offer people using Azure Pack. And what we're now going to do is, by adding cloud security as part of this plan, we're going to make sure that all of our customers can access and use our security features. So we'll confirm that. And from this point on, anyone in this plan has access to security. Now, if I go take a look at this admin's dashboard as well, I can centrally view what all of my tenants are doing. I can see all of the VMs that my tenants are accessing. I can take a look at changes that they're making. I can take a look at billing as well, so I can see usage, how many VMs, how many firewalls each of them have been used. And we'll talk about this a little more with our integrated solution. And we can even configure notifications. So every time an event or a virus happens, something's infected, we can even email someone, either the tenant or the administrator. Well, let's actually take a quick look now at what our end users see. So I've now switched from being an administrator configuring the back end to being a customer and actually consuming this. So if you're a service provider running Azure Pack, this is what your end user would see. So in this case, my end user has a couple of virtual machines they've already deployed. And for them to go and add protection, they'll simply say, protect a new VM. It's going to populate a list of unprotected VMs. They select it, and now we've turned on security. So a lot of people ask, if we're already managing security for them, we've already built cloud security into the infrastructure, what's the added value of offering security as a service? Well, the added value is we're giving our end customers an easier way to manage security when they need it. Some customers just may not need this, but you may have customers that are doing application development that want to have specific firewall settings. So for us to go and turn on different things, I can turn my firewall on and off with the click of a button, turn intrusion detection on and off, turn traffic scanning on and off. Very, very simple. Now let's say I've just deployed a SQL virtual machine and I want to have all of my SQL firewall rules configured. Well, we have the ability to apply templates as well. So our admins can set up templates, or our tenants can set up their own templates. They click apply, and all of those policies are easily set, easily configured. And when I want to go and view any data from my virtual machine, I can simply select the VM. I can see what rules I have. I can see what type of traffic we've accepted, what we've blocked. I can scan my network, take advantage of, take a look at intrusion detection, so see any viruses that have come through. Take a look at my connection. So essentially, you get a single dashboard that simplifies all of the management of all of your security resources, your firewall settings, your intrusion detection. So we've really offered the best of both worlds here. We're giving your tenants even better security, and we're giving them a way to administer it and control it with just a few buttons. And they never have to worry about agents. They never have to worry about updating definitions. They just get one button, easy-to-use security from a single location. And this is how you can take advantage of security as a service, one of the most critical things that you want to deploy if you're a hoster. Now, very quickly, if you are looking to acquire it, we do have multiple licensing options. Easiest way is contacting sales at 59. We do licensing based on per 2 CPUs, so consistent with Windows Server. But if you're a service provider, you may want flexible billing based on consumption. And we do have a service provider licensing model, where we basically charge you per virtual machine per month. So as your tenants consume more VMs, as you have seasonal fluctuations, you can adjust your billing based on that as well. All of our licenses for the antivirus agents plus the intrusion detection solution, that all comes as part of the bundle as well. So we really do try to make licensing as easy and streamlined as possible. And if you're a service provider that has unique licensing or billing requirements, we'll be more than happy to help you work out a solution that's compatible for your business. with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Thank you, Simon. I'm going to be talking about using Cloud Cruiser to do chargeback and billing for Windows Azure Pack and beyond chargeback and billing and doing cost optimization as well. Let me start with a little bit about Cloud Cruiser itself. Our founders first got together in 2009 to create the category of cloud financial management. And we are headquartered in San Jose, the capital of Silicon Valley, and we are the industry leader in financial management for the cloud, specifically for the hybrid cloud. So that's both public and private, going beyond Windows Azure Pack into other cloud management systems. Our customers are some of the largest companies in the world, including enterprises whose IT organizations provide cloud services to the business, and cloud service providers for whom cloud is their business. And we focus, as I mentioned, on cost analytics for the hybrid cloud. So we provide a single solution for pricing the services that you are providing, billing or charging back, depending, or even showing back, depending on what your particular use case is as a service provider or enterprise. And then also optimizing your spend to make sure that you're getting the best value out of the cloud, running your workloads in the most advantageous environments, and shutting down things that are wasting money, etc. We have the broadest scope of collectors available to collect the usage data and the billing data from all these different systems. And I'll touch on that a little more in a minute. And then we have very sophisticated cloud analytics to help you make business decisions from all of this data that you're collecting, and optimize your business as a result of the data that you've got. We have a long and deep partnership with Microsoft. We are the first embedded partner solution for Windows Azure Pack. Our Cloud Cruiser extensions shipped with Azure Pack out of the box nearly 2 years ago when Azure Pack first launched. And we also have integrations to the public Azure Cloud, to System Center, to Hyper-V, able to pull usage data from all of those. And we are working with Microsoft on more integrations to yet to come. And of course, we have integrations to plenty more cloud management systems. These are some of the bigger logos here. This is public cloud, Amazon Web Services. We have multiple different platforms that we can collect usage data from VMware, HP and Cisco, and then OpenStack, Rackspace. There's others. There's applications, databases, storage arrays, all the data that makes up the services you offer. We can collect the usage information from that and help present it to your users, your customers. So in terms of the Microsoft hybrid cloud, that's Windows Azure Pack as the private piece. It's sitting in your data center, providing VMs, websites, databases, etc. to your customers. Security with 5.9. And on the public side, it's Azure. And Cloud Cruiser enables you to bring the usage in from both of those and manage it in a single pane of glass to show your customers all of their charges and for you to manage your optimization of all of that. And so now we'll do a poll. This is a question that we have regarding your use case for cloud financial management. I've talked about billing and chargeback as two things that you might do as a cloud service provider. You might bill your customers and collect money from them that way. As an enterprise, you might charge back to your business units to get them to pay by consumption of IT. So we want to find out how many of you are actually doing this, how many of you are billing your users or your customers for their usage of cloud resources. Now, that could be, yes, I'm doing it today, no, I'm not, or maybe I'm not yet, but I'm planning to, or you might not be sure, maybe not familiar enough with showback or billing to give an answer at this point. 35% of you, yes, you're billing people for their usage of the cloud. That's the wave of the future, or actually the present, is to do consumption-based IT or to charge back for that as a service provider. Plenty of you who are not yet but planning to. That's a common thing that we see with our customers. People often start with a showback, so they'll collect the usage information and show that back to their business units to get people familiar with the resources that they're consuming and how much they're costing the business. And then once they get used to that, then the organizations will move on to a true chargeback at some point in the future. All right, so thank you for the poll there. Now at Microsoft Ignite in May, we surveyed over 300 people there at the show and asked them some questions about their usage of, or their needs in terms of cloud financial management. And in terms of forecasting, we asked everybody, do you have a need to improve forecasting? 57% of those surveyed said yes, and they need to be able to know how much of their resources are going to be used going forward, how much they're expecting to spend going forward. Of those who are using the public cloud, 59% have a need to compare costs across clouds. They might be using, let's say, Windows Azure Pack and Azure, and they need to be able to say, is this workload going to cost me more in one versus the other? Or they might be using more than one public cloud. It's very common for people to have some VMs in, say, Windows Azure and others in Amazon Web Services. So comparing costs across clouds is a very common theme. Implementing chargeback and billing. So slightly higher percentage of those we surveyed than those on this webinar, but it's, again, becoming more and more popular to do that, to charge back to your users and do that billing, which is a manual process right now for a lot of people. And then being able to match supply and demand, to allocate your resources in the right data center or to the right workloads within your business. 44% of the cloud adopters that we surveyed do have a need to match supply and demand. So why are these things so hard today? Number one, there are lots of services out there that you're providing to your customers or to your business. And that means usage data coming from different systems in different formats, whether that's a cloud offering or a managed service or storage array or anything like that. And that could be coming from the public provider, private cloud management system, traditional IT. You've got to manage the usage data coming from all of those different places. The finances are complex. Service providers will have different pricing models for different customers. You have other things to deal with bundles and occasional promotions, giving people credits and such. On the enterprise side, you're dealing with bills coming from different vendors in different formats. Your Amazon bill, your Azure bill are done different ways. And for you to correlate all of that and try to provide a single view of all the usage is a big effort. And then, of course, as you are working with more people, more and more clients as a service provider or more and more business units, it's hard to keep track of all that information, the manual effort to bill all those customers, or on the enterprise side to map that usage data to the right groups within your organization, departments or projects or individual users, and understand who is using what. So Cloud Cruiser's solution will help you with all of these things, starting with our foundation layer. This is where we kind of lay the data in place to help you. So the multi-source collectors are the integrations that I talked about earlier, being able to collect the usage and charges from all kinds of cloud platforms and traditional IT, etc. But that data, once you collect it, is not always useful in its original form. So we have a flexible data transformation engine that lets you make that useful to you from a business perspective. So that's things like pulling out a department code from a VM name, if that's your convention as a business. Being able to find those nuggets that are billing related, converting units from different systems so that you have a consistent measure of storage or database memory or something like that. Getting that all in the same units so you can compare, and then enriching that usage data that you can pull with business information from another system. Let's say a CMDB or Salesforce.com, something like that. We can pull out data from those systems and use our transformation to correlate that with the usage of your cloud and give you a richer view of that cloud usage to associate it better to your business. We have flexible pricing functionality so that you're able to do different prices for different customers, etc. I'll show you that some more in the demo that I'll do in a minute. And then custom dashboards, the ability to build visualizations that help you make business decisions. Now, for an enterprise, you can use these foundational capabilities to do cost transparency. That's understanding where your cost is going. Who is using what? Where in my enterprise am I spending that money? And that enables you to optimize your costs. The automated chargeback, pardon me, is the ability to send a bill out to your users and have them pay by the drink for consumption-based IT. So they don't have to. You don't have to use a bunch of manual effort to collate spreadsheets and make that happen. We give you analytics that will help you make business decisions. So this is going beyond chargeback and where should I run this workload? Where should I increase or decrease allocations? Other ways that you can use to reduce your cost in the cloud. And budgets and alerts are a way that you can help drive user behavior by setting some limits for people and automatically giving them emails when they are approaching that limit, so that they can moderate their behavior and reduce their usage and ultimately your cost. For service providers, automated billing is kind of the flip side of automated chargeback, right? It's just going to somebody outside of your company instead of a group within your company, but that same capability is there for you as a service provider. Self-service reporting is allowing your customers to log in and view their own bill so that they can see how they're doing during the month. That's another great way of building some trust with your customers. So when they see their usage in real time, then they're going to believe the bill that they get at the end of the month. That detailed view can reduce billing disputes that you have and keep your customers happy. And you get some trends and forecasts to understand where your business is going, and of course a profit analysis to know not just how you're doing overall as a business, but which services that you sell are the most profitable, which regions that you serve are the most profitable, which customers are the most profitable. So with that, let me shift over to a demo so that you can see some of this in real time. I'll start on the Azure Pack side with our extensions for Windows Azure Pack. And so you're looking at the administrator's portal right now, and as a portion of Windows Azure Pack that you get out of the box, there's a user cost tab, and this represents Cloud Cruiser's admin portal extension that you can hook up to the Cloud Cruiser application itself, is running on another server, and pull the data in that Cloud Cruiser is collecting from Azure Pack. So it's Cloud Cruiser lives on another machine, does all the collection and the transformation that I talked about, and has its own capabilities there, but you can leverage that from within Azure Pack so that your admins can have one place to go. So right here on the summary, you've got a list of tenants, some kind of total cost for them for various periods. I've got some older data here, so don't worry about the zeros. But on reports, here's where you can dive in and look in more detail. Maybe I want to look at a specific tenant, IT at bigcompany.com, and I want to see all of their usage. So I can dive in here and get a detailed report of the usage charges for this particular customer. And we've got specific categories of service and the detailed usage units. How much of this service do they use? What's the rate I'm charging them for that? And then what's their total charge for each of the line items? We've got a total there. So you can dive in and get the details from right here within the Azure Pack management portal. And then for users, for your tenants in Azure Pack, we have a similar concept. So there's a My Costs tab, and they get the same functionality basically, but restricted just to them. So they can choose to run that report. They'll only see their own data, so there's no worries about showing something that somebody shouldn't see. Now you get this loaded into Azure Pack, of course, right out of the box. But if you want to do more than just view your Azure Pack usage, then you would go to the Cloud Cruiser portal. And this is one of our insights reports, our analytics reports that I'll dive into more detail to in a minute. But since we've been looking at kind of invoices, and I've talked about that a lot in terms of billing and chargeback, let's shift over to that for the first thing that we really look at here in Cloud Cruiser. And this is going to be our standard invoice that is most of our customers use for their billing or their chargeback. It is the same kind of a detailed view that we saw over in Azure Pack, but here with some more capabilities. Right now, I'm logged in as an administrator, so I'm able to see this report for different portions of the business. I'm looking at it from an enterprise perspective right now. So there's an administration division within this company, and I'm on page 1 of 8, so I could go and look at some other division here, paging forward. Now I'm looking at the business banking division within the company. And so from within this report, you can look at the detailed line items for different types of usage. Private cloud here might be the VMs that I'm providing in Windows Azure Pack. There's some public cloud, some Azure compute charges there. We can break that out into more detail if we wanted. Storage that we're collecting from specific arrays, databases, applications that we're charging for. So you can reflect all of these different environments that you're collecting usage for, that you're selling services on, and show all of that into one bill. And this bill can be sent automatically to your users, so you can set it up to go out once a month or whatever period is most appropriate for you. Each user will get only the portion that's relevant to them. So I mentioned that I'm looking at each of 8 pages here for different divisions. When I send this out as a monthly bill, each division head would get only their one page that's relevant to them. So that is your automated chargeback or billing. And then, of course, you can allow users to log in here, as I mentioned earlier, and view their own usage. So the administration department head would log in and not see 8 pages. They'd only see the 1 page for that same period. And they'd be able to see their usage. They could look at a full month's report, or they could look at a month to date. You get just kind of up to the minute view of your cloud usage and understand, oh, I'm really on a trajectory here to use a lot this month. I want to save some money. And so it's a great way to drive user behavior and help people moderate their usage of the cloud. And this report also allows some drill down. So each of these underlined amounts is something that I could drill into. So for example, this Azure Compute, if I clicked on that, I'd be able to decide which dimension, which kind of field I wanted to slice it by. So if I drill down into that Azure usage by components, which is the field in that Azure bill, essentially the VM name, and I can see for each of these specific VMs what are the units that were used for those that make up this 31,000 computing hours in this particular bill. All right, let's move on here to look at some of the budgeting functionality that I mentioned earlier. So letting users log in and view their own usage is one great way to drive behavior and in an enterprise and keep usage down. Another one is to set budgets and alerts. So this is a list of all my customers in Cloud Cruiser, and a customer in the enterprise scenario would be a business unit, right? So let's say I wanted to set a budget on the accounts payable division or department. Over in the budget tab, I can say maybe I want a $10,000 budget for them each month. I'm a very large enterprise and my accounts payable uses a lot of cloud, so I can copy that amount. And that's now the monthly budget for all 12 months, and I can set an alert on that. So either a standard alert, meaning when they reach this budget amount, then, oops, there we go. When they reach this budget amount, then they will get an email, or a projected alert, meaning when their usage over the first part of the month shows them on a trajectory to reach that amount, then they'll get an email. So you can set multiple thresholds here and make sure that your customers are alerted at the appropriate times when their usage is going to be above an amount that you want them to be at. Okay, I talked about rates earlier, being able to set different rates for different customers. So, whoops, that's up here, financial area. So the way that breaks out in Cloud Cruiser is in different rate plans. So we have here an example of gold, silver, bronze. This is classic service provider type of rate structure. You can slot customers into one of these different rate plans, and then within each rate plan you set the cost for the services that you sell. So maybe for these VMs that I'm hosting on Windows Azure Pack, I might be selling 5 t-shirt size VMs, and I can set the daily rate for each of those, or the hourly rate if I choose to charge hourly. You can change the rate type here and do tiered if you want. So the basic rate is just this much per charge interval. But if you wanted to charge by tiers, that's a great way to encourage people to use more or less of something. So right now we're charging for this EMC storage by 2 tiers. Their first 1,000 gigabytes is being charged at 0.0009. After they pass that threshold, everything else is charged at a higher rate. So an enterprise might use that type of strategy to help reduce usage of something. As a cloud service provider, you might do the opposite. You might set a slightly lower price as the usage goes up to encourage people to use more of something. Okay, so let's move on to the analytics. And I'll show you quickly some of the analytics reports that we have in Cloud Cruiser. I know we're low on time here, so I'm going to move quickly through this. We have some analytics that will help you with kind of exploring your usage and understanding where the cost is going. Here you could look at it by department, drilling down from a division to a department, and then specifically what's used there. You might do the same thing from the service view up top. We have some other analytics that are aimed at exploring different possible scenarios. So here's one where you're in Windows Azure Pack right now, and you're considering moving some things to a public workload in Azure. So your green is how much that workload is costing you in Azure Pack. Then you're modeling that same workload in Azure based on their services and rates. And then here's the amount that you would save if you move the workload. So there's some kind of what-if planning you can do there. And then also in terms of reducing cost, optimizing your cost, you can do that here at a couple of different levels. So perhaps at the major resource level, CPU, memory, and storage, looking at how much am I actually using versus how much I've allocated. Hey, I can reduce my allocations and save money there. Or even down at a lower level, at the VM level, that we have some over-provisioned VMs that are extra large but could be downsized to tiny and save a whole bunch of money per month. All right, let's cancel out of the demo now and finish our presentation because we have a little bit more to go. And this is where we show how you might integrate Cloud Cruiser in 5.9 to provide a total cost management and security solution for Windows Azure Pack.
Absolutely. Just as we wrap things up here, I really just kind of want to emphasize the point that we do have a joint converged solution here. And that's really one of the biggest benefits that you will see of Azure Pack. It's that you can take all of these separate building blocks, and since you have the control of that back-end infrastructure, you can design and optimize the services to meet whatever needs you have. But with any type of hosted environment, always keep in mind these 2 big requirements you have. You need to make sure it's protected, not just the infrastructure, but also your tenants. And you need to make sure that you can do chargeback and billing appropriately. So as you're thinking about building out your portfolio of Azure Pack partners, we certainly want to encourage you to consider Cloud Security and Cloud Cruiser as your key solutions here. Now, on the next slide, you'll see one of our examples of how our solutions have been integrated together, where we've taken some of the different security features that you might want to differentiate and charge for, created a price structure for them, and then created a bill. So you can see that we've broken down billing based on the number of users that are part of the program, the number of virtual machines, firewalls, traffic scanners, and intrusion detection systems that have been enabled. And taking advantage of Cloud Cruiser's granularity, rich reporting and analytics, you have that ability to create the chargeback, the showback, and ensure that you get paid for delivering these world-class security services as well.
So your usage of the classic Windows Azure Pack resources like databases and websites and VMs shows up in the same invoice here along with your 5.9 security services right there in the Azure Pack portal. All right, thank you, Simon. At this point, I think we ought to move on to Q&A.
Okay, so I know we're running right at the top of the hour here. For those of you that can hang on a little bit longer, we do have a couple of questions that have been asked, so we'll go ahead and cover those. This one I think is for you, Simon. The question is Azure Pack or System Center required to be able to use 5.9 cloud security?
Great question. It is not required to have those. Those are just going to be different management portals that will enhance your experience. So 5.9 cloud security can be used by Hyper-V customers of all sizes. If you're a small shop, you can take advantage of it by not having to worry about managing your own security, having an easy solution. And if you're a large enterprise, we help with security by giving you a way to guarantee that all of your virtualized resources are protected. So no dependency on System Center, no dependency on Azure Pack. Those just go and enhance the experience and give you access to it through another management interface.
Okay, great, thanks. Another question here. Can the 5.9 suite database be installed on a central SQL server as a named instance?
Yes, it can. So we actually don't have any hard requirements for our database other than they have to support syslog. And syslog is a standard format used for writing event logs. And so what this actually means is you can go and store this data in a SQL database, in SQL Express, in Oracle, in JetDB. We actually don't really have any hard dependencies on SQL, so we're very flexible, very simple login format. So using a centralized one, using a shared one, a remote one, fully supported.
Okay, great. Let's see, Paul, question, is there a trial version of Cloud Cruiser?
Yes, of course. Now, the best way to kind of determine whether Cloud Cruiser will meet your needs is for us to do a custom proof of value for you based on your own use cases, which we're happy to do. But we do have a trial version, a free version of the product called Cloud Cruiser Express that you can download. The link, there's a link right there in Azure Pack from the user cost tab. So the Cloud Cruiser Express lets you try out Cloud Cruiser with a limited number of VMs. It only does collect from Windows Azure Pack. You can't do the full suite of cloud products that you can do with the full product. And it's also missing some of the better features around alerting and report distribution and analytics. But it's a great way to try out Cloud Cruiser for sure.
Okay, how about if we also use Azure Public Cloud? Do I need to upgrade Cloud Cruiser?
No, if you own Cloud Cruiser, if you bought the full product, then you can collect from Azure Public as well as Azure Pack and all the other systems that we support. Yeah, no need to upgrade.
So all those different systems that you showed earlier. Okay.
Exactly.
Simon, can service providers get a per VM license so that they only pay for what their tenants are using?
And that's a very common request for our Azure Pack customers. Now, if you kind of think about how you want to go and model your own services, you want to give an incentive for people to consume the additional resources. But at the same time, you want to minimize your upfront investment and minimize your risk with onboarding these different partner solutions. So using a pay-as-you-go model or SPLA service provider license, that basically allows you to pay based on only what your customers are using. And so we charge per virtual machine per month. So as you have more people using the service based on seasonal fluctuations or economic trends, you can certainly adjust for that and only pay for what your own tenants are consuming.
Paul, what types of services can I bill for within Windows Azure Pack specifically?
Well, we offer the ability to specify your services as you want. So we provide some out of the box as a default, your VMs and databases and websites, both SQL Server and MySQL. But you could establish new services such as the example we showed at the end with 5.9 software. The service configuration is a very powerful part of Cloud Cruiser. It's not something that we had time to show in today's demo, but you can establish whatever services that you want to sell and charge for.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I want to thank the audience that hung in here with us. Thank you, Paul and Simon, for fielding those questions. I want to advance to the next slide and give you some different resources. That is Paul. Okay, here's a list of resources available to you if you want to get more information about Cloud Cruiser or Five9, hopefully both. There's some links here. We're going to provide a copy of this presentation, so you'll be able to find these resources in the slides that are presented or provided to you at the end of this. But there's lots of different resources available in terms of data sheets and videos, webcasts, more on the topic. And so feel free to visit either of our websites for more information. So once again, thanks for joining us. Please visit our websites, reach out to us, follow us on Twitter, and keep up with all the news. Both Five9 and Cloud Cruiser offer regular webcasts. Keep up with what we're doing and reach out and connect. And thank you again for your time.